boom, it's cover 2 time, Warren. What's up? Welcome to the show, everyone. This is going to be a good one because the 49ers beat the Los Angeles Rams and are now tied atop the NFC West. Actually, not tied because they have 2 division wins. They're the ones that are on top.
Victory Monday, victory week. It's always great when the Niners get a win, man. It's after a loss, man, it's always heartbreaking. But after a win, man, I love it.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to talk to you after a win and go over, some of the things that happened in this game. The 49ers definitely had their moments. Big time interceptions, Deebo Samuel with the big time catch and run, Brandon Ayuk getting into it with Jalen Ramsey, Mike McGlinchey getting into it with Jalen Ramsey by saying things. Bobby Wagner laying out a fan.
Yeah,
and
a
now
protester.
the fans coming after him. So
really,
yeah, he filed a police report against him. So yeah, because he physically got harmed. So yeah, all kinds of fun stuff come out of this game. But the good news is the 49ers win against the Los Angeles Rams, and now I think the season really starts because every team in the West is 2-2, but the 49ers are on top.
Yeah, and I mean, anytime you're in the top of the NFC West, when in the past it was the toughest division in football.
Yeah,
I mean, it was tough to get wins in the NFC West, but sitting at 2-0 right now in the NFC West, I'm loving it, man. I'm just loving how we're progressing and how this season's going to turn out.
Yeah, me too. I'm really optimistic about this team. I think they figured some things out. I think there's a lot still to be figured out. And of course, it is the Rams. So you have to remember the 49ers, just for whatever reason, have complete ownage. Besides the NFC Championship game last year, 49ers own the Rams. I mean, they've beat them 7 of the last 8 times. Jimmy Garoppolo has never lost a regular season game to the Los Angeles Rams. He's 7-0.
Yeah.
It's one of the best records in NFL history. It's remarkable how well they play. Deebo Samuel has his best games against the Rams as well.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like the Rams, and the Rams don't like the 49ers. And part of the reason they don't is the physical nature at which the 49ers play. And I think that was heavily on display in this game. And it was exciting. I mean, Jeff Wilson Jr. bust that big run in the first quarter, and the hole was huge. And then he tallies a time that's one of the fastest times that any 49er has tallied all year. The only one that would beat it was Talanoa Hufanga in the same game, having to outrun Matthew Stafford on the pick six.
Right. And they said Talanoa Hufanga wasn't fast enough to play safety.
I didn't think he was.
Man.
To be honest with you, Talanoa Hufanga's times were not elite. What Talanoa Hufanga needed was the intellect, being able to read things. And he's doing that at an all-time high, an all-time level. So you don't have to be super fast as long as you're what we used to call it football fast.
Football speed,
You can read it really quick. You understand what you're seeing and you process it quickly. That makes up for so much time. Then you don't have to have those elite traits if the elite trait is your mindset and how you read and play football.
Yeah, his instincts is definitely some of the best I've seen. I mean, to be honest, he does look like a little Troy Polamalu out there. He imitates his game to the T, you know. But I'm super excited that he's a Niner, and we took a chance on him. Like, he looks better than what he did at USC.
Yeah, he does, because he's taking his game to the next level. I mean, he really has the areas that he needed to get better at. He did. I thought it was one thing that was interesting was the Rams were gonna play Ben Skoranek at fullback. That was their big thing that they did the week before, and they kept leaking Skoranek out for plays down the field, but he would also block. And the announcers were, Skoranek's gonna make these blocks. Well, watching Greg Papa and Kyle Shanahan talk, Kyle Shanahan kind of giggled when they talked about Skoranek. And then the 49ers showed them no respect by playing nickel the entire time, no matter if Skoranek was in the backfield or not. And the first time Skoranek tried to lead in the hole, Talanoa Hufanga absolutely studded him in the hole, blew him up, and Emmanuel Mosley made a stop for no gain. It was like, okay, that's the end of Skoranek trying to block. So Hufanga getting it done in run fits as well.
That's hilarious. And I know when we made the transition to Hufanga this year, I was one that was nervous.
Yeah.
I believe that we should have stayed with Tart, and the Niners made the right decision to go with Hufanga. I mean, the kid is, he's looking like he should be up for Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, he is that special to me.
Yeah, you're right. He does. I think one that's interesting, right, is that we oftentimes, and I mean, I say we, I mean, as a fan base, as a 49ers community, often criticize the front office moves that they make. And then you come back later on, you look at it, you're like, those are some pretty freaking good moves.
Yeah.
Moving on from Tart was a tough decision, I'm sure. And then not bringing Tart back, but electing to go with Gibson Those were big decisions, and the 49ers so far look like they have struck gold with Gibson and struck huge gold that could play amazing dividends with Hufanga.
I think so, and I mean they're reaping the fruit of their labor right now. I mean the Niners are just undefeated in that 5th round.
Yeah, they are, because now you got Tiamaro Lenore playing nickel the way he's playing nickel. Right. I mean, I know Cooper Kupp went for 122 yards, but that was the quietest 122 yards I've seen since Tyler Lockett got over 100 yards this season.
Yeah,
they're letting their players get yards, but not get touchdowns. That's fine. I mean, Stafford threw for 200 yards exactly. The first quarterback this year to throw for 200 yards on the 49ers, and it had to be 200 exactly.
Right.
It's impressive defense. And let's talk about that defense overall, because last week, Warren, we talked about the defense being Super Bowl caliber. I think they proved in this game that they are Super Bowl caliber. They beat a good Los Angeles Rams team. They absolutely caused major havoc for Matthew Stafford. The run game didn't exist. 57 yards in the run game is not good enough. The Rams definitely can't run the football in the 49ers. And I thought the Niners did everything they could to shut down everyone besides Cooper Kupp, and they let him get his, but they did a bend and don't break.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp, I mean, I think he finished with a career high. I think he had career high 14 catches or something like that. But a lot of it was empty stats, a lot of empty yards. I mean, he wasn't really a difference maker in the game. He wasn't really making too many plays. I mean, he was catching stuff, but to me, when you watch the Rams, they're really predictable. I mean, when you're Stafford, you know who Stafford's throwing to half the time.
Yeah,
and Talanoa Hufanga, I mean, obviously he read that when he seen, I think they were trying to run a little bubble screen.
Yeah, they're trying to run a screen. Yeah. So Kupp is lined up on the outside towards the sideline, and then they have the tight end inside of him. The tight end wants to make it look like he's getting a release upfield to get Hufanga to turn. Hufanga doesn't bite, and then so when he goes to block Mooney Ward, so Kupp can come inside, Hufanga doesn't go with the tight end at all and just screams forward and picks it off.
Yeah, absolutely jumps in. I mean, that just speaks to how predictable that offense is. So, but speaking with the Niners defense is just lights out. Like we were talking about, all 3 levels is just they're playing just a perfect brand of football. And even in our losses, I mean, you look at our losses against Chicago, our losses against Denver, the defense didn't play bad.
Yeah.
The defense did their part. They came out and they did enough for the Niners to win the game. It was just offensively we came up short. But with this defense, it's just sky's the limit, especially with the guys that you have out.
Yeah.
And once they get fully healthy, it's going to be scary for the league. And I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I mean, they held the Rams without a touchdown for the first time since 2016. The Rams score, and with Sean McVay, they usually score a lot. The 49ers haven't given up a quarter touchdown at all this year, so no one scored in the first quarter. 3.8 yards average per play is ridiculous, better than the 2000 Ravens, better than the 02 Bucks. It is ridiculous defense that they're playing right now. Now, we have a full season that they're going to have to do this for. Is it sustainable? I don't know. They got tough games against Kansas City, the Chargers, Atlanta. Those are big offenses that they're going to have to go against. But right now, they're showing all the ability, and you have guys stepping up at all 3 levels. I mean, Samson Ebukam came away with 2 sacks, including a strip sack at the end of the game to close it down. You had people like Palomalu himself, Hufanga, making plays out there on the field and getting touchdowns. And then Dre Greenlaw leads the team with 15 tackles in this game, 12 solo, 3 assisted tackles. He's playing at a high level too. Defense is ridiculous.
They are. And then you throw on Nick Bosa. You throw Nick Bosa in there. I mean, we're talking about all these other guys, but yeah. I mean, Nick Bosa leads the league in sacks.
And he had 14 hurries.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like something you would say at the water cooler, like, I don't know, Bosa had 14 hurries.
Yeah, 14 carries.
He legit had 14 hurries. I mean, it's ridiculous what they did. And DeMeco Ryans blitzed Matthew Stafford more than he had ever blitzed anyone before. And Stafford struggled. And that offensive line could not hold up at all. It was a very good game plan from DeMeco Ryans. And with the talent that he has on this team, I mean, what other team could lose their 2 interior starting defensive tackles and then still hold the opposing team to 57 yards rushing? Extreme depth. John Lynch was like, this 2020 is not happening. 2021 is not happening again. We're going to have the horses in the building. Hassan Ridgeway and Kevin Givens played fantastic. Both of them had sacks, and that's not even why they're on this team.
Right. And the Carfax is out about Stafford. He's going to make a mistake. And at the most vital point in the game, what did he do?
Yeah,
he made a mistake, and you know what's coming. You know what's coming. I think we dropped probably like 4 interceptions in this game.
Well, yeah, the one that got tipped that Greenlaw almost got to.
Right.
Then they had the fumble that he almost got, and then Gibson dropped an interception as well. Fred Warner dropped an interception. There were definitely plays to be made. That was what was funny. I got asked about that. Hey, who's going to have the first turnover? Is it going to be Matthew Stafford or Jimmy Garoppolo? I said it's going to be Matthew Stafford because historically he does commit the first turnover against the 49ers for whatever reason. And usually it's in the first quarter and it's usually a big time touchdown. Jimmy Ward last year.
Right.
This year it's Talanoa Hufanga with the intercepted pick 6, but he usually makes a mistake that ends up paying big for the 49ers.
Right. And if you're a Niner fan, to me, I can't help but think back to last year losing the NFC Championship game. If Hufanga was there, does he catch that interception that's her dropped?
I think that's tough, right? I mean, probably. I mean, it legitimately he probably does, but we don't know if Hufanga would have been in that same position.
True, that's true.
But I mean, those are things that people definitely think about. I've seen it on Twitter. I feel bad for Jaquiski Tartt. He's having to talk about this right now. He's talking about how good Hufanga is, and all the while, like, I had a pretty good career too. I'm like,
he did.
Jaquiski Tartt's a very solid player.
Absolutely.
I'm one of those ones that actually thinks he's better than a lot of people give him credit for. He's just is he going to make those splash plays like Talanoa Hufanga? Is he special that way? No, but is he a legit safety in this league that does everything really good? Yeah, he does, and I think it's unfortunate that he's actually not on a roster right now.
Right, and I think the world of Tartt. I thought Tartt was, like you said, he's a super solid safety, and he rarely made mistakes. Yeah. And if you look back at our season last year, he had a pivotal tackle in that Philadelphia game.
Oh, huge!
Where he ran him down and made that tackle. And if we lose that game, the whole season outcome could have been different. Because remember, the season last year came down to that one game. We needed that one game against the Rams.
He also ran down a guy in the Green Bay Packers playoff game. They had the big play down the sideline, and I believe it was the running back. And he ran him down and he saved the game because if they score that touchdown, the 49ers do not win and make the NFC Championship game. Tartt's hustle and things were on display, and I do think he got a little bit. I know we're going on Tartt, but I think he got a little bit more criticism than he deserved for the NFC Championship game. I think Ambry Thomas was supposed to help him by sagging on some of those coverages. And it's unfortunate because now everyone's only going to remember Tartt, though, for the missed interception.
Right. Unfortunately. Yeah, I love Tartt.
But this defense, I have to say it, the defense right now is better without Jaquiski Tartt than it was with him.
I agree.
But they don't even have Jimmy Ward. And so are they better without Jimmy Ward is what some people are saying. I'm not one of those people because Jimmy Ward is going to play at an all-time high. The dude's ridiculously good, and he's got a lot of versatility. And I'm looking forward to getting those guys back. And guess what, Warren? Those guys are back at practice. Jaquiski Tartt, but no, Jaquiski Tartt's former running mate Jimmy Ward and Jason Verrett are back at practice, which means they have a 3-week practice window that is open. When do we expect these guys to come back? Kyle Shanahan said it could be as early as Carolina. You think it's going to be Carolina, Atlanta, Kansas City? What are you thinking?
I would love to see these guys back early. Selfishly, I want to see these guys play. I've been a huge fan of Verrett since that year he put on for us a couple years ago. And then Jimmy Ward, I always love watching number 1 play back there. He's just, the guy's one of the best safeties in the league. And so I think we're going to need these guys for later on down the road. I think we're going to need them for the Chiefs. We're going to need them for Tampa Bay. We're going to need them possibly for this Atlanta game. I'm not too worried about them too much with Mariota. But the rookie is coming on for them, Drake London. But I would like to see him get some run, maybe not play a full game, but get some snaps. I think we don't really need him too much against Carolina because they just really don't present a threat that much in the passing game. But I would love to see these guys come in, get some run, get some football under their feet and ready to go for these big matchups later on down the road.
Yeah, I think you're right. Kansas City's on the horizon. I think you'd love to have both of them back and involved in the defense when you play against Kansas City with the multitude of weapons that they have. I think the big weapon for Kansas City is Travis Kelce. So having Jimmy Ward back could be very important, for that matchup because Hufanga, and as much as I like Hufanga and Gibson, and they've had very good coverage rates the entire year, I'm not sure Kelce's the matchup I want on them. So that's when you need Jimmy Ward. So I think that's the ultimate time he needs to be back. But you're right. Sooner is always better than later, unless you're nursing injuries. And I don't want to see Jason Verrett or Jimmy Ward back until they're fully healthy. but it was nice to see them back. And I'm looking forward to the dynamic nature they can bring this team, because I have the feeling that this could be the best secondary in the entire league. If you get Verrett, Mosley, Charvarius Ward, back there with Jimmy Ward and Talanoa Hufanga, it's absolutely fantastic. And think about that. One of the best defensive lines in the league, the best linebacker group in the league, and could be one of the top 3, top 5 secondaries in the entire league. To me, that screams all-time great defense.
I agree. I mean, I think Richard Sherman said it best too. He's like, this Niners defense is just it could be all-time great. You know, like I said before, the ceiling is the Baltimore Ravens, you know, and when you line up like Verrett and you bring back Jimmy Ward and you have Tavarius Ward and you got Emmanuel Mosley, like, that's scary for opposing teams. I mean, when you're game planning for this Niners defense, it's like, what do you do? Where do you go? Where do you see the weaknesses? You know, and like I said, DeMeco Ryans, man, he has to be just so excited, you know, sitting at home watching film, like just the different things he could come up with this defense to throw at all these offenses. It's going to be fun to watch going forward. And I'm just, as a Niner fan, I'm just so excited to see it, man. This defense is just going to be really scary.
Yeah, those guys that we have now have afforded us so many opportunities, Charvarius Ward and Emmanuel Mosley. We wouldn't have been able to bracket cover, double cover Cooper Kupp if we didn't have guys on the outside that could take away Allen Robinson one-on-one. And that's one of the most exciting things, is watching these guys take away people. That was what I said when I was doing all my breakdowns last week was we can double and we can bracket Cooper Kupp because Allen Robinson, Ben Skowronek, you're not doing nothing in the passing game. There's no Van Jefferson. So there's nothing dynamic that the Rams can do. And that's what's crazy, is every single week we're going to be able to say that. We can take away this guy, and the other 2 guys can eliminate whoever they put on the outside. I think that is fascinating. I think that's really going to help this 49ers defense and DeMeco Ryans be even more aggressive, because he has so much confidence that those guys can handle man coverage if needed.
I agree. I mean, it's going to be so scary when you could just bring down everybody and match up across the board. And it's man, I'm at a loss for words, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's what the DB coach had said. You know, they could go matchup. So, and with Verrett's ability to play inside and outside, Mosley could do the same thing. They can move inside and outside just depending on what matchup they want. It's crazy. And then you throw in Jimmy Ward. They were talking about a guy that can blanket coverage Cooper Kupp. I mean, the NFC Championship game, Kupp made a great catch, but Ward was in his hip pocket. I mean, he checked his license and everything on that play. He just, he wasn't able to finish it. But those are the kind of caliber of players you're getting. Just a fantastic defense. Now, it's a championship caliber defense, but do we have an offense that's good enough to win a Super Bowl? Not get to the Super Bowl, win. The Baltimore Ravens in 2000, their offense wasn't great, but it was good enough. 2002 Bucks, good enough. 2015 Broncos with Peyton Manning, who did not have a shoulder, basically, ended up being good enough. Does a Jimmy Garoppolo-led San Francisco 49ers offense, are they good enough to win a Super Bowl, Warren?
If you ask me today, I would say no. I believe that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. To me, the offense is too inconsistent. If you come talk to me maybe week 16, week 17, I might have a different answer. I believe this offense will get better as time goes on with Shanahan. And, I mean, that's what you expect usually in the early season. Offense is always behind the defense. Yeah. It takes time to build the chemistry and just get to your even kill point, you know, where things are just running on autopilot. I love every game, our first drive, when we come out, it's just, everything is just, it's beautiful. You know, the first, scripted drive?
The first 15 plays.
First 15 plays, it's beautiful. It's like watching like music, poetry in motion. But after that, it's just the offense starts to struggle. You know, you start to see the inconsistencies, and you start to see a lot of things fall off with the offense, where you would like to see that stuff cleaned up and, you know, like just dominate each possession. Against the Rams, I felt like we left a lot on the field. I feel like we left some points off the board as well. And not all of it was on Jimmy. Jimmy made some nice plays. You know, Jimmy played a lot better Monday than what he did last Sunday.
Yeah.
And he made a lot of throws. He made a few beautiful throws out there. Like that throw he made to Kittle on the back of the end zone was a beautiful throw. Yeah. He just couldn't get his feet in. But I still have my question marks for this defense. Do I think things will get better? Yes, I do. But at this point in the season, I don't think the Niners offense is good enough to win a Super Bowl. But I think that by we get to playoff time, we'll be ready.
I think we're gonna know when we figure out if Jimmy Garoppolo is gonna turn over the football. He did not turn over the football against the Rams, and if you don't turn over the football as a quarterback of this team, you have an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. That's how good this defense is. They're absolutely gifted. And when you have playmakers like Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk, you have firepower to be able to make a couple of plays in the game, and that's really all you have to do with a defense that's good. Now, do you want to put that kind of weight on the defense? No. But when we're talking about these first 15 plays, I used to script mine as well when I was a play caller. And part of the reason they're so successful is because the offense gets to work on them the entire time. They run through these things, they know them in and out, they know exactly where defenders are going to line up. It's when you start having to kind of go on the fly that players struggle. Because now you're running plays you're not as comfortable running, even though you've ran them before. Those first 15, you've put a lot of effort and time into. But those adjustments that a defense makes, a lot of times, if you're on target as an offensive coordinator, you already know what they're going to do, and you can just keep hitting them. And that's when you have those games where you just roll. But every once in a while, a team throws something you weren't expecting. Now, it could be something that ends up working out in your favor, but those things take time. I also believe Kyle Shanahan, coming out of preseason and training camp, often overvalues his players' abilities. And then when they get out there in the game and the bulls start flying, he figures out who they are and what their capabilities really are. And then he puts them in the situations. He just has so much faith in these players to get it done. But now that he knows who they are through the first 4 games, I think he's going to take advantage of their skills to the best of their ability. And I think we'll see this offense slowly roll. It's gonna be tough sledding in Carolina. They have a good defense, but Atlanta should be a welcome sight in a couple of weeks because their defense is atrocious.
Yeah, and I think that the offense just needs to settle in. Find their point where everything is running smoothly, and you like to see everybody get involved. I love seeing getting Juszczyk involved. Like this is the most we've seen him involved pretty much this year. Kittle, it was finally a Kittle sighting out there. I love seeing Kittle get involved. And I mean, the offense is not completely healthy. We know, Trent Williams is out, and can't think of his name right now. Running back.
Elijah Mitchell.
Elijah Mitchell's out right now. So to be fair to the offense, we're not operating at 100%. So right now, like I said, I think sometimes it's a struggle watching the offense. But once, the season progresses and, I put all the faith in Shanahan to get it together, to get it going, I think the offense will start to look a lot smoother.
It has looked nice having Kyle Juszczyk involved. Kyle Juszczyk over the last 2 games has had 2 catches that have went 20+, 24 against Denver, and then 35 on a quick out route.
It was nice.
It's a matchup issue, and that's what it's about, right? We talked about this last week. Finding personnel matchups that work for your team. Kyle Juszczyk on a linebacker is always a win, and that's what you're trying to do, get those matchups. And Kyle found him in this game, and I think that's going to be consistent. He's not calling plays because they're plays that he wants to run. He's calling plays that attack a defense's weakness using the strengths of his own team. So things are going to look different week to week. Whatever you saw last week, you can throw that out because you're going to see a different defense with different skill players, with different abilities that you have to attack, a different coordinator that you have to approach. So it's a fun game, and that's what is so cool about the NFL. Matchups are made, and games are made by these cool matchups that involve players that are completely different from each scheme and each roster that you go through.
Right.
And so let's talk about these Panthers a little bit. The 49ers are going to be taking on the Panthers. They, of course, have Baker Mayfield, who I'm sure Nick Bosa is excited to see again. He hasn't saw him since the Monday night matchup where he waved the flag on him. 4 sacks in that game. Now, Baker hasn't looked good this year. His QBR, I believe, is 16.7, which is absolutely terrible. This team has a lot of playmakers. DJ Moore, Laviska Shenault, Christian McCaffrey, Robbie Anderson. They are not lacking in that department. The problem is the guy pulling the trigger hasn't been able to get it done. Do you think that they're going to be able to get anything going against this 49ers defense with Nick Bosa over there with a personal issue with Baker Mayfield?
If it's not in a passing game, if not in a passing game, if it's Christian McCaffrey like causing us fits on the ground, I could see that, but Baker Mayfield dropping back and picking apart this defense, I can't see it. I don't think he'll have the time, and I think it's just everybody's gonna be blanketed back there. So, looking at this game, there's not too much I'm worried about besides Christian McCaffrey.
Right, because the defensive line could be in question if Armstead doesn't play, if Kinlaw doesn't play, right? You could potentially run in the middle, but are you going to run Christian McCaffrey 20 times up the middle?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Last time the 49ers played against this Panthers team was in 2019. Of course, it wasn't Baker Mayfield at quarterback. They actually had a better one. It was one of the Allens. I don't even know which one it was. They were riding high with a really good defense, and the Niners absolutely blew them out of the water. So I just don't know if Christian McCaffrey can get anything going against this 49ers defense, especially with the speed at linebacker. To me, the 49ers match up really well with the run game of Carolina and the skill players as well. Plus, Matt Rule doesn't know what to do with Laviska Shenault. He should just let him go and let him come to San Francisco.
I agree. I love Shenault. Shenault's a phenomenal talent, and I also like DJ Moore. DJ Moore is a nice receiver that the Niners, I mean, they'll have to pay attention to. He could hurt you at times.
Oh, he's good. Yeah, I like him.
But I mean, to me, the main focus against the Carolina Panthers is CMC. He's the guy that is the game breaker. You know, he could turn games upside down. So to me, that's the main focus. And I mean, Baker Mayfield, he's just gonna buckle under pressure. We're gonna keep somebody in his face all day, and you know, Bosa's already in his head.
Oh yeah,
he's already in his head, and that's enough to get a W. So
oh yeah, if I'm Bosa, I'm finding a flag to wave at sometime, or an invisible flag just to let him know what's up. And you just got to be in his face the entire game. Be in Baker Mayfield's face. He will make mistakes. He'll give you opportunities for turnovers, and you have to take advantage of those turnovers. But let's talk about a place where we're going to have a little bit of a question mark, and that is more questions at left tackle because Jalen Moore is potentially going to start his first game of the season at left tackle. No Trent Williams. Colt McKivit's out 6 to 8 weeks with an MCL sprain. It's going to be more until Trent Williams comes back, probably at Kansas City is my guess when we see Trent Williams again. But what do you think about Jalen Moore playing left tackle? What do the 49ers have to do to protect him against Brian Burns coming off the outside for Carolina?
Unfortunately for Kittle, he's going to be helping out a lot.
It could be Charlie Warner, too. Charlie Warner is a very, very good blocker. In fact, last year, he graded out higher as a tight end, as a blocker than George Kittle.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Man, thankfully, we're not really going to get to no bookends the next couple of weeks. I don't really know who Carolina or Atlanta unleashed on the edges.
It's like Brian Burns for Carolina.
Brian Burns, okay,
fantastic.
He is a good guy. Yeah, Brian Burns, a Florida State guy. Yeah, he is a nice one. I forgot that they had him over there. So he is somebody to worry about. But I mean, when he lines up across a Brian Burns, you got to give him help. You know, you got to give him help. And I mean, in this league, if you don't have a left tackle, it can get ugly fast.
Yeah,
it can get ugly fast. So I definitely expect Shanahan to help him out with either Juszczyk or, like you said, Warner, Kittle, with the chips and stuff like that.
Yep.
I definitely expect him to get help all game and speedy recovery, Trent Williams.
Yeah, he told Jennifer Lee Chan and Matt Miyoko he wasn't, he was going to be back sooner than they thought.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Kansas City. I think they get through the next 2 games with Jalen Moore. The good news is Moore rebounded from the Denver performance. 7 terrible snaps against Denver. But he comes in for Colt McKivitz, and he didn't miss a beat, actually. He played well, and it was funny because the year before in Week 10, he had played right tackle against the Rams and did pretty well. So I thought Jalen Moore, maybe he settled in, maybe he got comfortable, maybe he just got, Chris Forrester's foot in his butt. I was like, dude, you better play better. You're not going to be on this football team anymore. Sometimes you just need a wake-up call. But I think that you're right. They're going to find ways to get other guys to help him out. Also, they're going to use Brian Burns' eagerness to go against Jalen Moore against him. Let him come upfield. Let himself be taken out of plays where you can take advantage of the run game, move the pocket, do all of that sort of things, pull guys, send more to another guy. All those things are going to work in the 49ers' favor. They're just going to scheme it up. It's easier when you have an understanding of what your roster looks like pregame, not when you do it in the middle of a game. You expected Trent Williams to be able to handle one of those guys on the edge. As soon as he was gone in Denver and it was Jalen Moore, now he's on the same playlist, right? He's on the island. He doesn't have anyone to help him out, and that's not a recipe for success.
And I expected Jalen Moore to play well at home.
Yeah.
You always expect role players to play better at home. When for some reason, I don't know why it is, it's in all sports, role players always play better on their home field. Their true testament is when they go on the road.
Yeah.
So we'll see how he could hold up in Carolina against a guy like Brian Burns, who is a legitimate end in this league. So he's definitely going to have his hands full this weekend, but I think he could do it.
Yeah. I mean, why not, right? I mean, we've seen people step up imagine this. Imagine if Jalen Moore does play good enough. Him and Aaron Banks were the 2 draft picks in 2021. If you're a 2nd-round pick and your 5th-round pick are caliber enough where they can come in and play. And Aaron Banks is the 15th best according to PFF in the entire league at guard. I think he has played pretty good. I do think he's one of the top 20 guards in the league right now, which is impressive to say. But imagine if they strike gold on Jalen Moore, who's another 5th-round pick. But he's got to redeem himself from Denver.
Right.
Because that was not a good performance. Bradley Chubb and them ate him alive. And Brian Burns is no slouch with that speed rush either. So, Warren, what is your biggest concern against the Panthers? Is it Jalen Moore? Is it that defensive pass rush for Carolina? Is it, Christian McCaffrey? I'm really interested.
There's nothing really I'm afraid of with Carolina. To be honest, I mean, CMC, you always worry about him because he's just such a game breaker, Honestly, my biggest concern is just can the Niners take their game, what they play at home, on the road?
Yeah.
Because, we've seen how we played in Chicago. I believe if that's a home game, we win that game.
Yeah.
You've seen how we played in Denver. If that's a home game, I believe we win that game. We'll be 4-0, It's just I don't know what it is. It's just we've been having problems on the road, and we're losing the teams on the road that we should beat. We should have beat Chicago. We should have beat Denver on the road.
Yep.
Carolina, we should beat Carolina on the road. We are a better team than Carolina. So to me, that's what worries me. There's not one player that really, besides Christian McCaffrey, that really bothers me with what we got going on this Sunday. It's just the whole game aspect of just playing 60 minutes of football, mistake-free, staying healthy, and just going out there and dominate like we should. So that's the main thing I'm concerned of this weekend is just going on the road and putting our foot on their throat.
Yeah, I think my biggest concern is turnovers. If the 49ers don't turn over the ball, if Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't turn over the football, they're going to win this game. Their defense is just too stout. Their offense can do enough. They have enough playmakers to score points, even against a very stingy Carolina defense. But it all comes down to turnovers. It's not one particular person, even though I am going to keep an eye on Brian Burns against Jalen Moore. I think that's a matchup to watch and how Kyle schemes it up. I think it's about Jimmy not turning over the football or Ray McLeod not turning over the football. There are other players that can potentially put the ball on the ground too, but heavy focus on Jimmy because when he doesn't turn over the ball, 49ers win. It's that simple. Right now, the recipe for success this year is to score over 10 points. Score over 10 points, you have a really good chance to win the game. The 2 losses, the Niners didn't score more than 10. So that's what you got to get done. Hopefully they can. But I think they can handle Carolina. I'm not too concerned about this one. Yeah, we'll see if we get closer to the game if I start getting nervous, but as of right now, not so much. 49ers' biggest advantage against the Carolina Panthers.
This defensive line. It's absolutely defensive line. Baker's going to be harassed all game.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the more pressure you put on him, the more mistakes he's going to make. And so that's just one of many things I believe that falls in our favor, is defensively, I feel like we're just going to smother these guys. There's not going to be much for them to do. And then offensively, if we could just, let's stay consistent from what we've seen against the Rams, that first drive, and then we kind of had some moments during the game. But if we could just go out and let's say we get off to a fast start, let's say we get up by 17 points, this game is over with.
Yeah.
There's no way they're coming back. But we just come out, put our foot on their throat, and just blow them out the gates. I mean, it'll be blood in the water the rest of the game.
Yeah, I think I have 2. The first off is coaching. I think the 49ers have a better coaching staff than the Carolina Panthers. I don't even think it's close. I don't think Matt Rule is a good coach in the NFL. His offense have been pedestrian. He's blamed other people. He blamed Joe Brady. It was his fault. Fire him. And it's not. What it is Matt Rule doesn't really have the abilities to coach at this level right now. Maybe he'll figure it out. But I think this 49ers coaching staff of D'Amico Ryans, the way he schemed things up, he's just at a different level right now. He's at coaching at the top echelon that you can coach defensively. The scheme that he's coming up with, the way that he's approaching these things, the way he's mixing things up to keep coordinators off balance, that's going to be bad news for Carolina. Also, Kyle Shanahan just being able to scheme it up on the offensive side of the ball. He's going to get his playmakers the football. They don't get DJ Moore, Laviska Shenault the ball consistently. Kyle Shanahan is going to get it in the hands of Deebo Samuel. He's going to get it in the hands of Brandon Ayuk, and they're going to make plays. I think that's number 1. Number 2, huge advantage for the 49ers, and this is going to tick some people off, and some people are going to be fine with it, is Jimmy Garoppolo, because Jimmy Garoppolo is way better than Baker Mayfield. I know Baker Mayfield was drafted number 1 overall, but the guy has not proven to be an NFL caliber quarterback. And Jimmy Garoppolo at least has it up here mentally to be able to put the 49ers in the right situations. It was a can play that ends up being Jeff Wilson Jr.'s touchdown. That's a veteran quarterback understanding what he needs to do. I'm not thinking that he actually threw it high on purpose to get it to Deebo Samuel on that touchdown or anything like that. But I think that his knowledge is what could be the advantage. And I think in this game, he is an advantage because he's not going to turn over the ball. I can't say the same thing for Baker Mayfield. I think Baker Mayfield, I'm sorry, Jimmy won't turn it over a lot. Baker Mayfield, I think, will.
I agree. And another thing, like we said a little bit earlier for Baker Mayfield, is Nick Bosa's in his head. He knows 97's coming.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure he's seen the celebration millions of times. His friends told him about it. He's worried about it this week. He knows Nick Bosa's coming. So that's definitely a feather in the Niners' cap. And I do agree with you. I think the coaching aspect of this game is night and day. Our coaching staff versus theirs is just, it's not even close.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. And this coaching staff is fantastic. So, with all that being said, Warren, 49ers versus Panthers, what is your score prediction for this game? Who do you have winning?
I got the Niners winning pretty easily this week. I think we'll go out there and take care of business these next couple of weeks, to be honest. So I have the Niners taking care of business. I have us winning 30-9.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. It's pretty close to what I'm going with on this as well. I think the 49ers win easy. I think they handle business. I think the offense scores more than they did, but they put up a number that sounds very familiar because the Seahawks score. I think they score 27 and Carolina scores 6. I think they get a 21-point victory, a real comfortable win on their first part of their East Coast swing. So, yeah, 27-6. So we're kind of in the same category. Horst also predicted for the 49ers to win, but he had them going, I believe, to 41 points.
Ooh.
He has an offensive explosion.
Ooh.
If you're on Slightly Offsides on Patreon, you got to hear that. I thought that was very, very exciting.
Day.
Yeah, but I think what's interesting is everyone is not – I think he gave the Carolina Panthers 1 touchdown. Nobody's really giving the Panthers any touchdowns right now.
Yeah, I don't think they'll score on this. This defense is playing too well right now to give up any touchdowns. To me, 9 points was pushing it. I mean, because I don't even think their offense is as good as the Rams. So I think that 6-9, I think that's where they're going to be at. But the Niners should take care of business easily.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where I think if Sam Darnold was healthy, he'd probably be starting over Baker Mayfield. That's not good at all. I think Baker's going to get cooked in this one. 7 sacks is the 49ers record for the season. That could fall.
Be in jeopardy.
And if it doesn't fall, it's going to be because he's going to throw the ball wickedly to some of our guys who are going to have opportunities to make plays. I think it's going to look a lot like that Cleveland game because Carolina is not as talented as that roster in 2019, and the 49ers are better.
How many flag-waving celebrations are we going to see on Sunday? Over or under?
I think we're going to get none, which is interesting, but I think we're going to get a whole bunch of I think we will. I think we're going to get a bunch of that. I think Bosa's going to make plays, and I think Ebukam is too. Bosa has 6 sacks right now, leading the NFL, which you said earlier. And Samson Ebukam has 3. That is good news for the 49ers. They're getting edge pressure opposite of Bosa. The other good thing, that sack that Ebukam, the first one he got, Drake Jackson was a hiccup behind him. It was really nice. But you also got sacks from Charles Omenihu. You got Hassan Ridgeway. Kevin Givens. So, I mean, they had all kinds of guys making plays. It was fantastic.
Drake Jackson is a great name that you bring up because he's flashed a few times this year. So I'm loving what I'm seeing from that rookie.
Yeah, so another one in the books, Warren. We're killing cover 2. It's been a lot of fun. Just like the 49ers playing really good defense from their safeties. I think we brought it in this episode. I was excited about it. Lots of stuff coming up, of course. What's the game plan coming up on Saturday? So if you want to know what the game plan is, 49ers versus the Carolina Panthers, you should hop over and check that out on YouTube on Saturday. If you want to check out a scouting report and watch the video of Carolina versus Arizona where I break it down and give how I think the 49ers are going to attack, which has been going pretty well so far, head over to Patreon. New Patreon members over there right now have been watching it. So check it out. Let me know what you think. Another fun week on 49ers Cutback, but another great episode of Cover 2, Warren, and hopefully another 49ers win on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm guaranteeing a win.
Oh, I like that. I like that you're guaranteeing.
I'm guaranteeing a win, man.
I like that Joe Namath style over here, just guaranteeing it. Next thing you know, you're going to come with a fur coat and everything. All right, everyone, you guys have a good one. We're out.